Hello Midtown, my name is Jason Freedman and I am the captain of the Midtown Police District. I am sending out this video to talk to you about our upcoming summer strategic plan, which the Midtown District will be launching in early June and which will run through late August of this year. Our plan has three primary components involving crime reduction, disorder reduction, and increasing community engagement. In broad strokes, our plan follows the stratified policing model, which is an evidence-based, problem-solving approach that utilizes not only police resources, but combines it with community resources and community engagement in order to have positive impacts on crime and disorder. Our plan was also informed by feedback from you, from my officers, available data, and also filtered through this notion that we wanted to be able to pick things we felt we could have a positive impact on over the summer months. I'd like to talk a little bit more in detail about the specifics of our plan. As I said, the first component of our plan is crime reduction. And the Midtown District will be picking three crime types that we are going to look to reduce by 15% from the 3-year average. So we looked at 3 years of data, June, July, and August, got a number, and now we're going to hopefully get a 15% reduction in that number for 2021. So we picked burglary, theft from auto, and stolen cars. And I'd like to talk a little bit about why we chose those crime types. Number one, I have heard repeatedly from people in the community, neighbors, residents, of the impact that these crimes have had on them and their communities. These are frequent occurrences and have struck across the Midtown District and have brought understandable concerns about safety and security to a number of residents. My officers also, responding to these calls, know that the impact it has on their ability to work on other safety priorities and the impact it has on their workload and on the people, the victims that they encounter on a day-to-day basis. Importantly, we also think that these crime types, these three property crime types, they feed on each other. And so a burglary may result in car keys being taken, which then result in a car being stolen. Or a garage door opener that is stolen out of a car results in a burglary. So by focusing on these crimes, if we can interrupt one of them or impact one of them, we think we can impact the other two. But perhaps most importantly, we also think that these crimes, these property crimes, have a downstream effect on violent crime. Whether it's a firearm that's stolen from a burglary or an automobile that's used in the commission of a homicide or a shooting, or it's a car that's stolen and becomes a lethal weapon and results in a criminally negligent homicide or a significant crash, we think that by focusing on these property crimes, we'll have a downstream positive impact on violent crime as well. Now, the reasons we're not selecting violent crime are complicated, and I'll have more information on this in my blog, but suffice it to say, we will continue to respond to violent crime robustly, utilizing all of the resources of MPD, my district, my detectives, my officers, as well as the Violent Crimes Unit, the Narcotics Task Force, SWAT, you name it, we will provide the resources that we need to address these violent crimes. They will stay a priority, but they aren't part of the strategic plan per se. And again, there'll be more information in my blog on that, and I encourage you to take a look at that. Our second major category we're going to focus on is disorder. And disorder is a broad spectrum of issues, but what we're focusing on, again, based on feedback I've heard from you, comments and experiences of my officers, as well as my own personal observations and interactions, are hazardous driving and hazardous intersections. So hazardous driving, we can think of most directly as speeding, and hazardous intersections are those intersections where the data shows us there are a lot of crashes and or fewer crashes, but they are very harmful crashes. And so not only do we think that by focusing on hazardous driving, hazardous intersections will improve the health, safety, quality of life of people in the Midtown District, but we also think that some of those folks who are driving most recklessly and who have been involved in some of our most horrific crashes are also some of those same individuals that are committing some of these property crimes and violent crimes. So there's a logic to trying to interrupt or attack some of these issues from as many directions as possible. Now, there are going to be community engagement components of both our crime and disorder efforts, whether it's education, whether it's sharing information, whether it's neighborhood watches or walks. We're going to work through those opportunities to partner with the community to affect those issues. But more broadly speaking, the third component of our strategic plan is community engagement. Now, we're going to do a host of community engagement in the Midtown District over the summer of 2021, like we have since I've been here and before at MPD, with the exception of 2020 with COVID, right? But we're going to have a lot of stuff going on in the community. But we're going to focus on a few things again. And one of those is foot patrol throughout the district, both in areas where there's high crime and where the data says we need to be efficient and use things like the COPER approach. But we also want to get out in other neighborhoods, and we want to be out and about talking to people when it's not a crisis, when there's not a problem. Again, to just build those connections, have those conversations, answer questions, get told stuff. We want to be out there in foot patrol. We also have a very robust neighborhood association cadre in the Midtown District. I've had the opportunity over the last year and a half to talk to a number of those associations, and we've had good conversations, shared information, gotten to know each other a little better. But there are many other associations where I haven't had that opportunity, and I want to. I want my officers and my command team, talking to the neighborhood association, sharing information, getting information back, and working in partnership. And so I think there's a great opportunity here to build on our relationships with those neighborhood associations that represent so many residents of our Midtown District. And finally, beyond the neighborhood associations, we know there are other very important, growing, robust community groups or existing structures that we want to continue to be a partner with. So whether it's Coffee with a Cop or a resource team or an association of some sort that falls outside of the neighborhood structure, we want to try to engage with you. So we think that by focusing on these three particular areas of community engagement, we're going to create a lot of opportunities to have discussion and to talk to each other and get to know each other better, which I think will only result in good things. A couple of things I want to finish with. First of all, every district in the city, there are 6 of them, was asked to come up with our own strategic plan. And while we share a number of different approaches and strategies, they're not identical. And each district came up with their own priorities and some of their own approaches to this. And that's great because we're going to see a whole bunch of different efforts made in different contexts. We're going to give us more opportunities to assess what worked, what didn't, how do we do it better next time. Again, with this goal of continuous improvement, that's one of our core values. But if you happen to live in a neighborhood that straddles 2 police district boundaries and you're talking with your neighbor, don't be surprised if your neighbor says, well, wait a minute, Midtown's priorities are this. Well, I'm in the South District. Souths are different. Why is that? Well, it's intentional. And so again, I'm just preparing you for that if you encounter those differences. As I said previously, I want to emphasize there are more details available on my blotter. There'll be a little more information, and that this will be the start of a conversation, not the end of one. And one of my goals throughout the summer is to provide regular updates, maybe not a video, but regular updates via the blog or through meetings or whatnot about what we've done, what are some challenges we're facing, and get some sense from you, hey, how are we doing? Get that feedback. And I'll finish with that. I've told my officers, I'm asking you guys, let us know how we're doing. Let us know if you're seeing things that we're not seeing or you think you want to make sure we are seeing, whether it's a crime pattern or a traffic issue or, what officers are doing or how we're interacting with them. Because what I found is that most of the time, if there is a question or a concern, it can usually be answered with a little communication. I also know that as we hit the summer, after a very violent 2020 and unfortunately a violent spring, we're going to have challenges implementing this plan. I think there are great opportunities to have positive, proactive impacts on crime, on disorder, and to make real beneficial community engagement. But I also expect that there are going to be challenges. There are going to be crises we have to face. And as we move through this period, again, I will be talking to you. I want you to talk to me. And at a minimum, I expect we're gonna learn some really important things and look to the future and how we can do better. So thank you for your time. Be safe, be well, and I look forward to talking with you soon. Thank you.